Now we're going to be continuing on with our metric units, but now we're going to do some two-step problems, and we're going to do prefix to prefixes. Again, don't be tempted to merge steps, because if you mess it up, you've lost 2 points of partial credit instead of just 1. So we are always going to go from prefix to the base unit and from the base unit to prefix. And that way you'll ensure that you won't end up with the wrong magnitude or power on your final answer. So we're going to go centimeters to meters first. As these get longer, I really do like this method a little bit better. So we know it's 2 steps, so I'm going to set myself up for 2 steps here. I'm going to write my given down, and 231. Carry your units with you. I'm telling you, I've seen time after time when students get a little lazy about it, when I get a little lazy about it, that I'll make mistakes. Now, centimeters are in the numerator, so if I want to eliminate them, I'm going to put in the denominator, and then I'm going to go to meters first. Find the prefix. Centi is a prefix. The 1 goes in front of the prefix. Find your lonely base unit. Saturday Night Live. Your scientific notation is going to go by your lonely base unit. And centi is 1 times 10 to the minus 2. Double check that your centimeters cancel, that you don't end up with, say, centimeters squared in your answer. Now I want to get rid of meters, so I put them opposite in the denominator, and I want nanometers. Again, find the unit that has a prefix involved. That's where the 1 goes. And your conversion is 1 times 10 to the minus 9. Double check all your units cancel. And when you plug in that value, it should be 2.31 times 10 to the positive, 13 nanometers. Now let's look at how the points might be distributed here. You'd get a point for that correct conversion, a point for this one, likely a point for units, and then remember, math and sig figs together give you another point. Now honestly, we only take sig fig deductions up to a certain number of them. You're not going to miss sig figs on every single problem, but if you just pay attention, you won't miss any at all, and that's always good in pre-AP chemistry, because remember, we're getting into college prep. It's getting tougher and tougher. Make sure your units cancel before you leave. Now let's try another one. I'll work one more for you. You may want to take a moment, pause the video, and I'll give you the answer. It's 6.99 times 10 to the 4th centigrams. So if you want to pause the video real quick and try it on your own, I think that would enhance your learning. Okay. Now I'm going to get my railroad set up. I'm going from a prefix to a prefix, so I know I always want to go through that base unit. So again, prefix to prefix, those are always 2-step problems. I'm going to write my given on the top. My given has 3 sig figs, if you want to note that. 6.99 times 10 to the 8th micrograms. Now I want to go to grams, so I'm going to do grams first, and then I'm going to go grams to centigrams. So I put my micrograms in the denominator because they were originally in the numerator. I'm going to go to grams, 1 in front of the prefix, the unit that includes a prefix, and my scientific notation in front of that base unit. Now, if I stopped my mathematics, I've converted micrograms to grams. But the question asked me to go to centigrams. So I have to get rid of grams and go to centigrams. Find the prefix. That's where the 1 goes. 1 times 10 to the minus 2. And our answer, again, I gave that earlier, would be 6.99 times 10 to the 4th centigrams. Now, this next part gets a little tricky, but if you set it up right, if you start with the given, put into your mathematical grid correctly, you should be okay. we're going to look at double units. You're driving along the road, you're going 30 miles per hour. That's a double unit. You could write that as 30 miles are equal to 1 hour if you wanted to. Now, in our case, we have 0.7 micrograms per milliliter of lead. So that means I have 0.7 micrograms is equal to that 1 is implied. Now, I have a double unit, and the key to doing these, and there's a couple of ways I would take for this, but the key to doing this, not sure how many steps we have yet, is to put this number in the top of the grid, so that'd be 0.7 micrograms, and then that 1 ml in the bottom of the grid. Don't put it into your little math grid as a angled fraction like I did here. You want to put what was in the numerator in the top of the grid, and you want to put the unit in the bottom that always has an implied 1 in the denominator of the grid. Now, if you set it up like that, I think you'll find that these are pretty straightforward. So let's take a look at what we need to do here. So I have micrograms, and it asked me, what is this in grams per liter? So that means I have to convert milliliters to liters, and I need to convert micrograms to grams. Now, the order doesn't matter because it's all multiplication and division. And remember, multiplication and division, your order of your operations won't matter. So you can pick whichever one you want to eliminate first. I'm going to go ahead and start with my milliliters. I'm going from a prefix to a base, so that's a one step in and of itself. But look what we do here. We have milliliters in the denominator. So if I want to get rid of a unit in the denominator, I put it in the numerator. So I'd have milliliters in the numerator. As long as they're opposite one another, they'll cancel. And I'll want liters then in the denominator, which my question asks me for liters in a denominator. The 1 goes by the prefix. This has a prefix. This is a pure base unit, no prefix. That's where I'm going to put the milli scientific notation. Okay? And that's my one step. I've done one of these. Note that if I stopped my math, I'd have micrograms per liter remaining. Okay? But we're going to keep going because it asked us for another step. Now I need to address those micrograms. And it asked me to go micrograms to grams. That's prefix to a base, so I can do that in one step. Since the micrograms were in the numerator, I'm going to put them in the denominator so they'll cancel. Not even thinking about the liters right now, not even looking at that step yet. I'm going to go to grams, find your prefix, there's your 1. 1 times 10 to the minus 6th is your scientific notation for micro. Now, my micrograms have canceled, so now what I have, if I look at all my units, I have grams and I have my liters. So there are my units right there. I've converted to what it asked for. All I have to do now is multiply by everything in the top and then divide if it's in the bottom. And remember, if there's more than one division step, you want to either use parentheses properly or hit equals. And when you do that math, assuming I did my math correctly, is 7 times 10 to the minus 4th grams per liter. Now, I'm reporting a value, so it was okay to go back to that slashed unit. It was just at this very beginning step that we wanted to make sure that we set for a double unit, 1 on top and 1 on bottom, 1 in the numerator, 1 in the denominator. And I only have 1 sig fig. Okay, so that's saying it's not the most, detailed of measurement in terms of what our equipment could do. Now let's try another one, and that's going to move us into the next video. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the answer to 220 so that you can give this a try before you do the next video. That's the best way to know whether or not you are really understanding what's going on, or whether you may need to ask me questions. So this is 131.2 kilojoules per mole would be your answer if you did that correctly. So move on to the next video and you can check your work.